So someone yesterday asked me about my coverage of Laurie Alexander, if I'd ever run across Laurie Alexander, her theology, the transformed wife. So today I want to talk about my history with the transformed wife, very briefly, if possible. Okay, if you know who I am, you know I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for a place called Pathos. I wrote a column every single day called No Longer Quivering. And I talked about the quiverful evangelical movement, the kind of people that populate that sphere. Like I said, taco churches, totalitarian, authoritative church organizations that aren't really affiliated with any one particular organization, but they're kind of free form. They kind of go all over the place and making it up as they go along. Non denominationals. Don't bully anybody or even contact anybody I talk about in my videos ever. We're not about going real life and harming people in any way, shape, or form. Even when they're harmful people, we just don't do that. We try to be better than that. And these are my opinions, and I'm getting ready to recite my history with Lori and her lovely husband, Ken. Okay, so when I first started writing for Pathos, I would sometimes look at Lori's writings. Her blog at that point was called Always Learning, which I was intrigued by that because always learning is a good posture to have in your life. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always learning something new. Last night, I had to look up a ton of information about a certain kind of succulent that I bought a little tiny one of, but I've killed a couple of them here. I'm learning that Costa Rican gardening, even with succulents in containers, is way different than it is in the States. So, being a learner, a lifetime learner, is an important thing for me. It always has been. I've always approved of that. I like to look at YouTube videos about how to do kinds of crafts and arts and crafts that I don't know. As you can see, I'm in my arts room today. I got to work on getting the closet door fixed. One of the closet doors is open. You can see I've got everything labeled and stuck in there in boxes, except for all the quilt batting up there that you're seeing. There's quilt batting and there's some different kinds of tapes that I use for different things. But it's mostly pretty well organized. And even here, it's a little messy, but I'm mostly organized with my craft supplies because if I'm not, it just becomes very problematic. So that's why you're seeing all this crap today. Like I said, always learning. Not a bad thing, not a bad way to be. Always learning. And in those days, Lori said far fewer things that I would consider toxic. Far fewer were the kind of things that came out of my old church. I'm still working on my book. It's called With Strange Fire, as in we started out with a sweet country church, and then by the end, we ended up in a strange place with a faraway place with strange fire that didn't resemble anything that what we started with. And this was a non-denominational church. Okay, so I didn't quote Lori much in those days. I quoted her every now and then when I saw something that was toxic that lined up with, especially with quiverful theology. But as time went on, and Lori started spending hours and hours and hours each day on social media and every kind of social media you could imagine, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all sorts of stuff. She started to make some pretty strange claims. And she released a book called The Power of the Transformed Wife, and she relaunched her blog in a new space, The Transformed Wife. Now, I've talked about this before. She kills me because she uses a blue morpho butterfly as an emblem on all of her social media. Some butterfly I'm very familiar with here. They're large butterflies. They're very beautiful, but they're rare. They're extremely rare. And they're said to bring healing if you see one. That's what the rumor is that the blue morpho butterfly, when you see one, it promotes healing. So once she did that, I started really leaning into. quoting her for no longer quivering because some of the things she said are just so incredibly obnoxious. I don't even know how to debate all of that. I would just usually quote what I heard her say and just go from there and put what the truth is. Because, if you're a Christian and you're following God, one of the things that I know for sure is you shouldn't be remaking God in your own image. And the more of Lori's writings I read, the more it seemed like to me that she was trying to extrapolate out and say everything she thinks is exactly what God thinks. And that's really a very prideful statement. That's one that seems to be really common in evangelicalism in these non-denominational, high-demand religious organizations. So I started kind of pounding on her about that usually, and some of the things she would say, the things she would extrapolate out and try to claim that were just not even remotely grounded in reality. And I actually stopped talking about her for quite a while because it started to be obvious that we weren't dealing with somebody who had a happy life. It was somebody who seemed like they were pretty miserable in their marriage. They didn't have that essential spark, and you hear me talk about the spark every now and then. If that spark ain't there, there's nothing in this world that's going to make it a great marriage. Because if you don't have that essential connection, if you can't wait to see that person, if you can't you think about doing the dirty bedroom stuff with him on the regular, you got the spark. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to have it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. No, that spark dims and heightens at different times. But if it's not there at all, what you have is you better marry a righteous man and do everything he says and submit the right way. Submit the way that I and Debbie Pearl tell you how to submit. She wrote a thing that somebody shared today that I laughed about because it said that she needs her husband to change light bulbs and things like that and to make money and take care of her. And I just kind of had to laugh and I had to write my own version where it's like, uh, I need I need to have my husband around so somebody will laugh at my silly jokes. And somebody gives me enough freedom to do the things I must, even when they're crazy and foolish. Somebody loves me enough just as I am, where I don't have to change. I don't have to transform or do anything like that to get that person's love or to have dirty bedroom hijinks. So, I'm almost the same age as her. I'm very similar age and grew up at the same time she did. I didn't come to saving knowledge of Jesus until I was in my 30s. And since then, I've talked about my deconstruction, reconstruction journey that a lot of us go on when we become ex-evangelicals. It happens. And the older I get, the more I realize I don't know everything. And the more I realize that I don't have all the answers. So whenever I see someone like her just spouting out they have the answers and the answers are given her all just horrifically, mm, it's hard for me spotting toxic theology not to say that is a whole pile of not godly. Um, I may not know much in this life, but I know that God is not going to injure you to get your attention. A theology that preaches nothing but pain, suffering, and submission is a fear-driven cult. I'm just gonna say the word, throw it out there, C-U-L-T, as we usually spell out. Um, so I decided to back off Lori because she has a brain tumor and she got a reoccurrence of it. So I announced at NLQ I was no longer going to talk about her at all because of the tumor. And the second I did that, Ken, the husband, went mad and went crazy and started sending all kinds of stuff through the comments of NLQ, and I just blocked him. He even tried to reach out to my husband on Facebook. And my husband was sick that night. He came shuffling in here. I think I really was in my sewing room doing something. And he said, "There's some lunatic that's ranting and raving about you being the devil. Do you want to deal with this person? Because I'm sick. I don't feel like dealing with him." So I had to go out there and say, "Oh, kitty boy, no, it's not happening. Please go away. You don't have to go away silently, but please go away." And I have nothing but compassion for anybody in a bad marriage because marriage is hard even when it's a good marriage. It's two flawed and imperfect people trying to come together and have something that's greater than the whole. Okay. Sometimes we manage it. Sometimes we miss that boat so much that it's ridiculous. Like shouting, screaming, and being naughty and not being loving, not giving each other grace, which I think when you're married, the kindest thing you can do instead of turning into a yes woman is just give your spouse grace, grace and freedom. If you're not watching somebody who's talking about grace, freedom, mercy, and loving kindness, there's no Jesus there as far as I'm concerned. Better to, not be offended, keep small offense lists, and try to extend grace to each other. Not always perfect at that, but I try to do it myself. Okay, I love you guys. I will be going on and yeah, I'm stuck in here because the air conditioner in our bedroom died again. And so I have to be in a place with good air conditioning. The air quality is like the worst. They're saying if you're asthmatic, don't go outside. So I'm locked in my fortress of solitude, or as it's better known, my art room, starting to mock up to do another painting. I'm ready to paint. Almost finished with my taxes, so it's gonna be party time. I have a whole bunch of brand new gemstone beads. Be making jewelry and other stuff. So that's my jam, you guys. And I'll see you later. I think tomorrow I'm gonna do a some book reviews. Like I said, I have Shannon's book to do. Shannon Harris, who was Josh Harris of I Kissed Dating Goodbye's wife. And of all the manuals that I've read or memoirs of people who've become evangelicals, I think Shannon's resonates the hardest with me because I was in a similar type church. I know what she was talking about all through it. I didn't end up broken like she did. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Love you guys. Have a great day.